Hello, I'm Bryan Mann, Principal Sales Engineer here at Citrix. Thank you for taking the time to join us today at the Citrix Healthcare Summit. As we all know, Citrix has been a trusted partner in healthcare for several years. By leveraging the virtualization technologies in Citrix virtual apps and desktops, our healthcare customers have delivered the most critical applications in the environment, both securely and efficiently, both for clinical and non-clinical users. So rather than spend time discussing things that we already know about, published apps, published desktops, and VDI, I'd like to discuss and demonstrate what's new, what's beyond virtualization, secure workspace access. Secure workspace access provides the ability to grant access to internal web applications and internal web pages without virtualization and without VPN connections. This allows for those resources dedicated to providing those published browsers, which happens to be one of the top applications published in Citrix, to be returned for use by more critical applications and removes the management overhead of maintaining those browsers and also the overhead of the VPN. Secure Workspace Access also provides ways to control access to and secure SaaS apps. So why do we need to discuss this? Well, first off, if you haven't noticed, more people are working from home. This is the first time for many not being in an office or at a work site. They're working from the dining room table, from the kitchen, likely from their couch too. And this is the first time for a lot of our healthcare customers here at Citrix having to deal with having a majority of workers at home. The users could be using whatever personal device they have available, or corporate supplied laptop, or switching between the two depending on the day. This poses unique security challenges, especially with PHI and PII, and changes the security boundaries drastically. Next, over the past several years, the application landscape has changed. It's shifted to include more cloud and SaaS-based applications. So that means all I need is a device and an internet connection, and I have access to data and applications at my company. I don't need to connect back to the data center anymore. From a security standpoint, most customers have at least enabled two-factor authentication, but access to those sites is still wide open. Many customers have turned to a trusted network or a trusted IP model to try to gain some control over access to the SaaS apps and sites, but this typically involves a VPN and backhauling that traffic back to the data center. This introduces its own set of security concerns as well as possible performance impacts. The combination of these new users at home, different application landscapes, the multi-device use, leads to a different threat landscape than we've seen in the past. Trying to provide user access and security in this environment can lead to complexity for both the user and the IT staff. And with complexity comes risk. And where do these challenges and complexity come from? Well, with the multiple applications available to them on the internet, users now have multiple login methods, and IT staffs must manage multiple authentication points. Any delays or confusion on logins impacts not only the end user satisfaction experience, but possibly patient care and satisfaction. How many times does the end user have to put in a password, username, and possibly a token? Now, I don't even want to talk about what would happen if security had an issue on one of those multiple authentication points. VPN provides a simple on and off access type method. There's no real control of the data flowing over that connection. I either have a connection and the data is there, or I don't have a connection and the data is not there. And by forcing SaaS apps back across that VPN connection, it opens risks from the endpoint as well as impacting performance by bringing all that traffic back to the data center. This could ultimately impact patient care satisfaction. And being thrust into a BYO model poses many challenges. Unsanctioned applications on the devices, how do I support the users, unsecure network access, and so on. Last but not least, our security architectures were not likely ready for this. This rush to a hybrid or remote workforce really stressed our security architectures. While there may have been some movement away from the old castle and moat model, in many instances it wasn't fully developed, which leads just to more bridges over that moat or more threat avenues. And all this leads to complexity. And on that note, be sure to check out John Colleen's session later today, taking complexity out of caregiving. So this is where the what's new comes in, to help with the challenges and protect the hybrid workforce. We have secure workspace access, secure internet access, and secure SD-WAN. Secure workspace access allows VPN-less, zero trust network access to your sanctioned internal resources, including those traditional virtual resources, applications, desktops, alongside internal web apps and internal websites like SharePoint or other critical sites related to patient care. Secure Workspace Access also allows us to control access to SaaS apps, as well as gain granular control of both SaaS, and internal web resources like we do with XenApp and XenDesktop. We can limit print, cut, copy, and paste, and even block screenshots. Secure Internet Access moves to a different level by protecting or sanitizing Internet access and access to SaaS apps. Be sure and check out Dimitri and Shane's session later today, Zero Trust Security and the Power of Contextual Access. Now, SD-WAN provides redundancy and security for connections from home or from remote clinics or offices, ensuring performance so patient care is not impacted. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, Secure Workspace Access provides a VPN-less, zero-trust approach for security to help secure the hybrid workforce experience. The demo later on will highlight these points: single sign-on, contextual controls, remote browser, and app protection, just to name a few. Secure Workspace Access provides unified access, enhancing security and the user experience by reducing complexity for both the user and the IT team. This leads to greater efficiency and satisfaction for the user, allowing more focus on what matters: patient care and patient satisfaction. We also gain granular control for SaaS and internal web apps, including the ability to block screenshots. With the addition of security analytics, security teams will gain valuable insight into user behavior and have a self-contained system that will alert and take automated actions based on user behavior. This is all controlled by understanding who the user is, what device they're on, and where they're coming from. To recap, Secure Workspace Access helps with challenges that this new hybrid user experience presents. Zero Trust Network Access to help remove VPN security, complexity, and performance issues. Removing authentication complexity by providing a unified access, and single sign-on to all SaaS and internal resources. Also supplying granular controls on SaaS and internal web apps as well. Now, one thing that's not mentioned here is Secure Workspace Access can really reduce complexity, enhance security, and speed the value of a merger and acquisition. These efforts could be sped up because we don't have to wait for Active Directory Trust to be built. We don't have to wait for secure networking to be built. We can just use Secure Workspace Access, to provide this access to our new users. What also happens is we've all heard the stories where somebody goes out and buys another organization, and they get into that organization and they discover that, ooh, man, network security has really been lax. So it delays the integration of those two companies. And think about the worst case of that. What if they'd already integrated and threats had gotten in from that unsecured network into their network, thus causing issues? So enough with the presentation. Let's move on to the demo. All right, here we go with the demo. We're going to show some of the background activities for the Secure Workspace Access, as well as show it in action here. So first of all, what I did is I went and I installed our connectors in my data center. Cloud connector for authentication connectivity, and then my gateway connector to allow that secure communication for access to the internal applications. So now I'm going to come back here. And those connectors are all using outbound communications, 443 outbound secure communications. So what we need to do now is present those applications, whether it's a SaaS app, or internal web app, or web link, to our users. So I'm going to go here and click on the library. The library is a collection of the SaaS and web apps that we have provided. As you can see, that the group I work with, we've done quite a bit of testing. So I click on this plus sign and click on Add Web and Sas. So this is going to come up, and it's going to show a list of templates that we have for a lot of the most popular SaaS apps. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit easier and type in Workday. I'm going to click on that and click Next. And it brings up the configuration. As you can see, it says outside my corporate network already. And you just drop in your unique URL. And for today, I'm going to use this. And it's going to have, oops, that should be that. And then come in here. It shows the related domains icon. You can change that if you want, and then what it is. Go ahead and click Next. And this is what we've been talking about, that security that we're able to wrap around SaaS apps. So if I click in and enable enhanced security, you can see it turns on clipboard access, restricting key logging, screen capture, watermark. Now, for example, with Workday, somebody may need to print a payroll stub or a tax document, so maybe you uncheck restrict printing. Go ahead and click next. And then for single sign-on, right, we talked about the SAML assertion, the ability to have that application, the SaaS app, accept SAML assertion rather than direct login. So this is where you'd fill in everything that you need. But today I'm going to go ahead and choose don't use SSO and save that and finish. So that's a SaaS app, an external app. We've been talking about internal apps as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and add another app. Again, the templates come up, but I'm going to go ahead and scroll past it and see skip. And you notice the difference here. Now I have a choice. And I'm going to choose inside my corporate network. I'm going to give it, the application a name. And this is going to be the website, the internal website. And that's going to pop in. Again, I can change the icon, description, go education in there. Great. Go ahead and click next. And again, back here to enhance security. So if this is one of the ones you wanted to be unrestricted, you would leave that, again, all off. But I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I'm going to, again, unrestrict printing because I may need to print a form from that site. Go ahead and say next. And this is where that connector comes into play. So I installed the gateway connector. It's warning me there's only one. And I choose that. I scroll down and yes, I understand that I should have more than one connector. Click next. And here we are with single sign-on again. So if we look at this, basic SSO deals with a basic 401 challenge all the way down to not using SSO and Kerberos and form-based choices as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay, and next, and finish. So now I've created two apps. Now I need to add users, or in this case, we call them subscribers in the library. So I'm going to pop into the library here. Oh, it's asking me to re-authenticate. We'll go ahead and do that. Find my token. So as you can see, the cloud administration tools are multi-factor protected. Here it is, bringing me into the library. Go ahead and scroll down as these new applications should add here at the bottom. Give it a second here to refresh. It's going through our whole library. But this is where you could come to even edit them. Manage subscribers, edit. We'll come down here and grab continuing education, manage subscribers. It's got my domain listed. I'm just going to go ahead and type in one user here. And grab that, and it's done. And then if I did want to go ahead and edit that, I could come back down and grab that and edit. And let's say we found something out about the enhanced security that we need to change. You know what? We really do need to restrict printing because they're able to get at some PII for some reason. So when this comes up, I would go ahead and check the restrict printing again and be done with it. Finish. And I'm going to go ahead and get out of there. Now, it's one thing to provide those applications. It's now there for the users to go ahead and access them. And that's done through Workspace app. Many of you are familiar with Workspace app. You've installed it. You've seen it. What may look different here is this activity feed. This activity feed is related to our intelligent Workspace feature. And it really just bubbles up things that are important to the user. Like, for example, I come in, I see somebody who wants to swap a shift with me. I can go ahead and with a single click or 2 clicks, swap shifts or say I don't want to. Next, we're going to come down, take a look at files. Files may be a different section that folks may not be used to seeing. We talked about access to applications, but Secure Workspace Access also includes a unified access for data. So here I can come in, log into a Citrix Workspace app with 2-factor authentication, and then be presented with my personal data. So if I come in here and look at patient and take a look at the x-ray real quick, that's great, I looked at it, put it back, and then I notice, okay, Bryan hasn't been sent his treatment guide. I can click on that and click share and email with Citrix. That, and subject's going to be ankle and the treatment plan. And click send, and it sends a secure link off to the recipient, not the attachment. And the users can be forced to put a name and email address in to be able to download. We can expire that link, only make it downloadable once, so on and so forth. Plenty of security to wrap around there. So I was able to come in here in a unified access, unified spot, look at a file, send a file, all without leaving or having to go into email or different applications. That's part of the power of the Secure Workspace Access, is this unified platform. I'm going to come over here, show you desktops, right? We talked about access to traditional virtualized applications and desktops. Here they are, both on premises and in the cloud. Coming back here to apps, you'll see that we have all types of apps. Typical published app, my SaaS app, internal website. Now, in the interest of time and continuity, we're showing all these applications here at once, but what you would do is use contextual access to decide which applications are going to be shown. So for example, if I'm on an untrusted device on an untrusted network, maybe I'd only show the published resources, so I can ensure that security inside my, my virtualization environment. And then with my SaaS apps, maybe I'm showing the secure versions of those SaaS apps to wrap the protections around. But if I'm on a trusted device on a trusted network, I give you direct access to internet or even, your SaaS apps as well without the protection. So I'm going to go ahead and just launch a SaaS app here. And since we've talked about Workday so much, I'm going to go ahead and launch that. And you notice it launches in Google Chrome, and it brings me out to Workday. And what you're seeing here in the background, or what you're not seeing, excuse me, is it's doing SSO backend to Workday and logging me in. So what we've done is the upfront two-factor authentication to Workspace means I don't have to provide two-factor to all my SaaS apps when I go ahead and access them via Workspace app. I don't have to remember another name and password, so on and so forth, and my workflow becomes quicker. And it looks like we're having a little bit of problem possibly with Workday, but I'm going to go ahead and that's going to go ahead and spin. I'm going to try another one here while we're waiting. Let's just try Simple Word Online. So again, SaaS app goes through, and there you go. You see it pass my credentials through. I'm going to go ahead and say no because I'm security conscious. I don't want to be signed in all the time. And it brings up Word for me. So if I come into, let's say here, my patient notes, and I see, Bryan Mann has some presenting symptoms and swollen left ankle, so on and so forth. And I noticed that I need to add some information here, and I'm going to add the attending physician. So I forgot the doctor there. Come back. So we see that I was seen by Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, and Dr. Howard. Now, because this is an unprotected app, I can go ahead and copy this and come down here and paste it. And what you notice is just for future reference, I'm going to put this in there and say, from unprotected app. So you can see there the controls aren't in place, but I'm going to go ahead and close that down. And now we're going to walk over here and check out another application. This time I'm going to launch Office 365, the protected version. So this is going to have my app protections. Oh, wait, I don't have the app protection component installed. So if I go ahead and cancel this, you'll see what happens. I don't have access. So if somebody doesn't have the proper components on their desktop or on their endpoint, you can block access to resources. And I'm going to go ahead and close that and launch it again and say, okay. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and install it. Now, you don't necessarily want to force your users to install this, but if they don't have it already, let's say it's a BYO computer, you may instruct them to go ahead and do that. on your corporate devices or things that you manage, you can absolutely include this component as part of the Workspace application install. And it goes through here pretty quick. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and close that Word tab just to be sure. And it looks like Workday decided it still didn't want to work today. Close that and drop that down. So there we go. Installation was successful. Again, we see what I left behind here on the clipboard. Come back to Workspace. And I'm going to use my recent application tab here on the right rather than navigating to the apps. Another thing that's a little bit quicker for the users. Click on that. And then what you're going to notice is it didn't launch in Google Chrome. It launched in this different browser. It's an embedded browser that allows us to wrap security around the application. Again, doing SSO through, and we can integrate with conditional access with Microsoft as well. And here it brings me into my SaaS app again, and you can tell here a little more security. We have a watermark, and if I go ahead and open up patient notes again, the watermark stays, and you can see if I come here in this application, I'm going to show you a couple different ways. You know what? I'm going to come up here and grab patient name and presenting symptoms. And if I do a Control-C, clipboard operation is restricted by administrator, so I can't even copy. And even if I try here and click copy here, I get nothing, that says I was blocked. But if I come down here to Notepad, and we notice, when I do a paste, I got what was left on the clipboard from before. So we've blocked the copy and paste between this protected app and a local application on the endpoint. So that's a SaaS app, and we're thinking that's all well and good. We get that. Let's go ahead and talk about or show the internal app. So let me get this. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go ahead and close this and come back to my workspace. And in my favorite applications, we're going to see the different intranet apps. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on the normal intranet. And you notice, again, it didn't launch it in a regular browser because this isn't a SaaS app. This is an internal app we configured. So we're still using the Citrix embedded browser as part of Workspace. And you see some buttons. You see the print button. You go ahead and you see cut, copy, paste is there. There's no watermark. If I go ahead and bring up my snipping tool here and click new, right, I can go ahead and take a nice little shot there. All well and good. Oh, don't want to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now I'm going to come over here and switch to my secure version. Again, you see it launching in the embedded browser. You notice print went away. And you also notice cut, copy, and paste is also grayed out. And if I try to do a snip here, you'll see that we haven't turned on that protection in this version of the application. So I'm just kind of walking through showing the different levels of protection you can put on the different versions of the application. So I'm going to go ahead and close that again as well. Close that down. And then for the last one, I'm going to throw this, show this Internet Secure Advanced. And again, you see it launch in the embedded browser, print goes away, cut, copy, paste is blocked. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the snipping tool. And this is still kind of loading here. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the tech library, let that load, because you can kind of see the watermark here that we've added. So we've added the watermark in, and then coming back here to the snipping tool, if I do a new tool, you see it grays it out. So now we've turned on the protection in this version of the application. So this is a great protection, especially for BYO. Turning it on, people can't take screenshots. Go ahead and close that and close that again. One other thing I do want to show you is you're thinking, great, my users can use Workspace app, but we also have something that provides a little more of a native type of look and feel. So if I open up Microsoft Edge here, I'm going to have a bookmark to that internal site, as you can tell here. And if I click on that, it says I can't get there. Well, because one, I don't have a VPN launched, right? So I don't have access. So therefore, it's not going to find the internal app. But if I come over here to Chrome and I click on the same link, it brought me through. That's because of this little plugin here. I have the Workspace Access plugin for Chrome. I was logged in, so therefore it passed me through. Now, if I go ahead and sign out and close this, and come back in and do the same thing, clicking on that link is going to force me to log in to gain access. There we go. So VPN-less access from more of a native standpoint that my users would really love. So closing that, I'm going to step now to something else we talked about, the secure browser or sandbox browser. This is really great for folks who need to do research or you want to provide access to social media sites that are required by the business, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, but you're worried about the security of those sites. So you can provide access to those sites via secure browser. Now you can give them a secure browser and they can type in their destinations, or you can use in combination of secure internet access that you can check out later to do the flip automatically. So if I come here to downloads, just to show you that we're not on the local browser, I'm going to go ahead and come here to feature downloads, Workspace app. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose the Workspace app for Windows. And what you'll notice here is when I click download, this is not a Windows Explorer. You're seeing a Linux browser, right? So this is all sandboxed in our data center, Linux delivered browser. So that way, if malware were to detonate in this session, it wouldn't hit your network or the person's endpoint or any endpoint in your network, giving you full protection with a sandbox browser. So that's great. We've talked about some of the obvious security things. And if you come back here, I did kind of tease this intelligent piece. I want to go ahead and show you that now as well, because there are some security implications there. So I'm logged in and I come in and say, hey, from a security standpoint, I can alert users to possible security issues. Hey, you just badged into room 517. Oh, if it wasn't you, click notify, and it would send that off to the security, and we can investigate, hey, your card was stolen or somebody cloned your card. You see one of your coworkers requested PTO, I can go ahead and approve that. Hey, there's some change in patient data. You can click on this and it'll launch your EMR for you. We scroll down a little bit, time log's been approved, so on and so forth. And really, this is about saving time. So if I can come in here and click on a button real quick to do a task, it gives me time back to spend with the patient or with my family. So for example, if I want to request PTO, I can just come in here, put a date in, and submit at this point. Right, it's been submitted for me, a couple clicks. If I want to open up a help desk ticket, same thing. I would click in there, knock that out, and it'd be done in a few minutes. So this really provides time back in the day for your caregivers and managers alike. So that way they're not spending a bunch of time logging into an application, multi-factor, finding their way around to perform a simple task, right? And it may not be the fact that I've saved you 2 minutes, but if I save you 2 minutes 20 times, that adds up. And the other security piece here is when I go ahead and log into this or click this, I'm not logging in. I've already done an SSO on the back end to the application, and I'm exposing the exact place of the application that the user needs. So they don't have to move around and possibly expose any secure data or information. And again, it all ties in to the same idea. And even here, right, we've tied in Google Drive, OneDrive for business here for files as well. So again, that unified access for SaaS apps, virtual apps, internal apps, and data. I want to thank you again for joining us at the Healthcare Summit. Be sure to check out the other sessions today, especially on reducing complexity and the zero trust for healthcare. Have a great day. Thank you.